So, Susanna, I wanted to call up and publicly blame you for my recent addiction to a book by Neil Stephenson called Seven Eves.
Well, I was very happy that you enjoyed my recommendation.
I forget when we were talking about it, but I was fumbling through the bookshelf for something to read on Christmas break, and pulled it off and took it with me on our trip, and it has been just gut-wrenching and gripping. For those that don't know, Seven Eves is the story of an apocalyptic event, but essentially it means that humanity, for the first time, whether they like it or not, has to start over, and they have to do it in space. And it's a story all about the frailty of modern space travel, but also the frailty of humans. And Tharsis, this brand new game coming out on the 12th, is very reminiscent of Seven Eves. So, Susanna, the other reason I got you on the call is I also hear that you play a board game every once in a while.
I do, every once in a while.
And Tharsis is about as faithful an adaptation of a board game style experience as I've seen in quite some time. You are literally rolling dice on your computer screen, all in a goal, in a hope to keep your Mars mission going along on its merry way.
It's very important to actually get to Mars first.
Well, as we're seeing here, as you progress, you've got 10 weeks to make it to Mars. Each game round is the equivalent of 1 week, and at the beginning of each week, you have a number of modules on your ship that are damaged. So right now we've got the food module and also the command module are damaged in some ways. We send a crew member to that module. They have a number of dice that are allotted to them. Roll those dice. And some of those dice can be stolen away and captured in stasis or thrown out into the void, or actually lead to damaging the health of the crew member themselves. But ultimately, we want to decrease that repair number and bring that ship module back online and save the crew and save the journey going forward.
Is it the sort of thing where you are required to sort of roll a certain number of dice, and then you slot... And you say, okay, well, I need to roll a 3 and a 4 and a 5, or is it more a thing where you're looking at the total number of the sum of the dice that you roll?
Well, there's a number of different ways that they split the Yahtzee up here, right? So to get the module back online, it's just sums, right? You need to get a number of dice up to, in this case, 11. Now, if you have a spare dice, or you don't want to allocate your dice to that repair number, you can throw it over here on the left-hand side and use your class feature and add 1 health to that crew that's in that particular module if you have 5 or more. Or, since we're in the food module, if you have matching numbers on your dice, you can actually allocate those dice, as you saw, 4 and 4, to get food to feed the crew.
Neat.
Then you can also allocate dice to research that you can use down here at the bottom, these research projects. So if you have a 3 and then you use that 3, it'll clear out your dice pool under research, and you'll get health kits, which will give 1 health to everybody on the crew. But then, of course, each module has its own feature here. So this one, flight control, allows you to reduce stress for the crew as a whole if you put a 5 in that particular module.
And I love the visualization of the sort of the cross sections and the zooming in and out. And there's a little guy.
Oh yeah,
there's just a little guy crawling around in there.
And that's Jean. That's Jean. She's in there doing what she can. Her green little space suit on. But they have on the right side of each character there's health, and on the left side there's stress. So as stress goes up, their performance goes lower, and if they run out of health, well, they die. And so you only have 4 crew members and 9 and 10 weeks to get to Mars. So you got to make sure that everybody makes, or at least one person makes it there when all the chips are down.
So it's a bit Space Oregon Trail to a certain extent.
To a certain extent, but it's also a very traditional worker placement game, right? There's a lot of, for instance, something like a pandemic to this game, where you're moving characters around the table, and there's only so much resources to go around to support them. But at the end of each round, you also have to kind of take the command role, right? And tell which of your crew, yes, I'm going to meet your needs. No, I'm not going to meet your needs this particular round. But then you also have to feed everybody, right? And food is very limited. So very much like in Seven Eves, though, well, cannibalism is an option, Susanna.
Oh, gosh. No!
So in the opening rounds of this game, we lost a couple crew members. So they were freeze-dried and they're just hanging around. So we're gonna keep our strength up by eating our crew members. But as things get even more dire, you can actually flip a switch and kill one of your crew members and eat them that way. It gets really grim.
Wow. Please tell me that there's some sort of psychological toll mechanic.
Well, you lose your humanity, and actually the dice themselves turn blood red, and there's blood dripping all over the display. But in the background of all of this, there's a very mysterious story going on, right? So we aren't going to Mars just to go to Mars. We're going to Mars because we received a transmission from Mars. So last I checked, we never sent anybody to Mars, and that's what all the crew on this ship think as well. So there shouldn't be anybody on Mars, certainly not people that are wearing space suits just like ours. So who's there? Why are they sending us a message? And what happens to us when we reach there, either with or without our humanity, either having resorted to cannibalism or not having resorted to cannibalism? And so I imagine it's been a tough road. I've not really made it to Mars yet, and this is after maybe a dozen or more attempts at it. I imagine there's some kind of secret there on Mars that unlocks. Maybe there's a return trip. Maybe there's an extra wrinkle. Maybe we're going to go a little further into the space, into the solar system. Maybe there's other journeys that we have to make. People we're going to meet. So it's all very cryptic.
I mean, I like a good cryptic game.
The trouble I'm having with it, though, is it's super duper hard. It is really hard. Like I was saying, maybe more than that. Maybe like almost 24 playthroughs. And they're quick playthroughs.
Wow.
You can get through one in 20, 30 minutes. That would probably be a long game of Tharsus. But it is just brutal.
Yes, just those early couple of one or two first plays of Pandemic that you go through as a group. That sort of...
But
that sort of overwhelming and immediate loss.
Exactly.
That you never saw coming.
But the thing with Pandemic, though, is it's a very collaborative game. There's other people at the table kind of sharing this journey with you. With this being a computer game, there's not really a multiplayer aspect of it. And I'm not sure it would be terribly compelling if there was. So it's really just a single-player experience, a very solitary experience, guiding this crew along and having them stare back at you as you tell them to eat parts of their friends. So it's kind of grim, Susanna.
Yeah, it seems. I understand why not Anathem. Jesus, that's a different Neil Stevenson book. Why Seven Eves what came to mind. Because it's certainly got its grim, it's beautiful and grim moments.
So the HUD it gives you a lot of information in a way that would be difficult for a traditional board game to do. It's all here, everything that you need to do what you need to do. Up on the left, you can see the ship has 2 health left on the ship. There's 4 damage coming, though, and I need to try and find a way to mitigate that damage, and it's not going particularly well. So inside each module, each turn, you've actually got a series of re-rolls that you can use. When those re-rolls are all depleted, you can't use them again, but I was lucky enough I was able to get enough this time, so I'm going to be able to clear this damage. Then I'm going to take the 5, and I'm going to toss that over into reduce stress to kind of improve her performance overall. So now... here we go. Last round here. 2 damage coming. 2 damage left. We're going to send our specialist into the engine room. There's a chance with her in that engine room that she'll be able to actually use the location itself to improve the state of the ship past the damage that we're going to receive. But as you'll see here, it doesn't really go particularly well. And our journey kind of ends here, unfortunately. But this is Tharsus. I'm very surprised to see such a strict interpretation of a board game presented like this, available on consoles as well as PC. I don't know. Do you think this is something that you might be interested in as kind of a board game player, but perhaps not so much a PC player?
I think, I think I'd probably definitely given it a few rounds, depending on how quickly my dice turned blood red.
Well, give it a whirl. Let me know what you think. Also, let me know as the mystery behind this game, as it kind of unfolds for you. Maybe we can check back in and see how it's working for you.
Oh yeah, there's definitely something interesting on Mars.